This month marks 3 years since Juneteenth became a federal holiday. It's considered as America's second Independence Day. Juneteenth commemorates the end of slavery in the United States. And Terry Hollimon is back with some goodies and some info to talk about why and how we celebrate Juneteenth. And I'm glad we're talking about this. And I'm glad that our kids are growing up knowing about this.
Yes.
Because I don't think Juneteenth was ever discussed when we were in school.
No, it wasn't a very widespread thing. Actually, it was a thing. It was only a Texas thing. And then it spread out throughout the entire nation as people from Texas started to navigate to other parts of the country. But yeah, June 19th became a national holiday 3 years ago, thanks to President Biden. And now everybody knows about it, or should know about it.
Or should know about it. So the reason we didn't know about it was much like folks didn't know about the Emancipation Proclamation.
Right.
So let's talk about how Juneteenth came to be.
Okay, it's a little bit of the sordid history of America and slavery. 1863, January 1st, Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, effectively freeing all enslaved Africans in the country.
Right.
But the word did not make its way to Texas, where there are over 250,000 enslaved people, until 1865.
Right.
So 2 years later, almost 2.5 years later, Texas slaves found out that they were freed when the Union Army rolled into Texas and said, hey, you guys, what are you doing still working? You're free.
This is not cool.
Yeah, so 2.5 years later, 250,000 people in Texas found out that they had been enslaved illegally for the previous 2 years.
It gives you chills. I mean, there was no Twitter back then, and people were they knew.
Yes.
A lot of people knew, but they were like, well, we're not going to share. So this is important to knowing our history as a country. What was your relationship to Juneteenth growing up? Did you know about it growing up?
It's very interesting. I was much like a lot of other people where I did not know about Juneteenth, even being an African American in this country, that I thought I knew everything that it was about our history. But it turns out that a lot of people in Texas did not know to tell people outside of Texas until they started, again, moving throughout the country. People from Texas would move from Texas, and then they moved to like Los Angeles and New York, Chicago, and places like that. And they tell people when they got there, what are you guys doing for Juneteenth? Me, I found out when I moved to Texas in the 1980s.
Really?
So yeah, my family originated from Arkansas, which is a neighboring state of Texas.
Right next door.
And we didn't even know about Juneteenth, right?
Wow.
It was mostly a Texas thing. So when I moved to Texas, my friends started saying, hey, what are you going to do this Juneteenth? And I was like, June what? And then I found out it was a big celebration down in Texas. People would have barbecues, cookouts.
How old were you? Was this like teenage?
I was probably like 15 years old.
15? Okay, so how did y'all celebrate?
Oh, there were parties, barbecues, pretty much in celebration the same way that they celebrated on the original June 19th back in 1865.
Okay.
There were barbecues, there was parties, lots of music, lots of celebration. A lot of people would find ways to take the day off if it was a weekday. But yeah, it was a huge celebration in Texas.
So cool.
And again, when people traveled from Texas and moved into these other cities and states across the country, they took those parties and celebrations around the country and taught other people about it until it eventually became a national holiday.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so exciting because you brought some of the things here that are traditionally, that you at least grew up in Texas having on June. Can you tell me about the significance of these things?
Absolutely. So
everything's red.
Everything is red. So there's a significance when it comes to the color red. Red symbolizes, of course, the blood that was shed by the enslaved Africans that were in this country. So that's one thing. But at the other side, you think about the color red, it also signifies power and strength and courage. So these are the things that we celebrate, red on Juneteenth. Another thing that they celebrate is some of the things that they could not have, enslaved people could not have during slavery, which would be something like a red velvet cake. There was
something very decadent.
Something very decadent and sweet and delicious, strawberries and things like that, and barbecue. So here's one thing I want to tell you about barbecue. Give you another little history about the English language, a common phrase that we normally use. So impoverished people, when it came time to eating butchered meats back in the day, slaves would only eat like the pig feet and the tails and the parts that other people didn't want, right?
Yeah.
Those, you think about that, the pig feet, the pig shanks, the pig nose, that's low on the hog, right?
Right.
When you're able to get a little bit more advanced, you get to eat high on the hog. So you eat cuts like the ribs and the pork shoulder and the ham. So when you're living high on the hog, you get to eat barbecue ribs.
No kidding.
Yep,
I
that's it.
never knew the etymology of that phrase. That's insane.
That is it. That is it. So we got to eat barbecues. And again, that day back in 1865, they had big barbecues. The enslaved people who just found out that they were emancipated took off their old clothes and threw them in the river, their work clothes, and they put on their Sunday best, and they had music and barbecue, watermelon, and again, all these delicious red
got the
foods,
chills,
and red
man.
shoulders.
And red
soda.
Red soda for
Yeah,
us today.
yeah.
Thank you, my friend, for sharing that. As
Thank you
always,
for having me,
we
yes.
love you.